Let's go, girl.
Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't believe.
Let's go. It's WTF, Women Talking Football. Not to be confused with WFT. We are the Women Apparel producers for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. I am the EP, executive producer Ashley Pickles, sitting over there, the AP to my AP, my associate producer, Miss Mallory Hartley.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And then we would be remiss not to include our lovely producer back in the control room, making us sound good, doing all the things.
Turning the dials, making us sound good.
Oh, correct. The dials. Big dial gal.
Dial gal.
Vianney Moreno. So, we're back over here in the fun little WTF setup. We have claimed this as our own, and we just continue to add our own flavor to it.
Our own flavor. What flavor would we be if we were a flavor?
Oh.
Blue raspberry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because blue.
It's got a little bit of tart.
Blueberry.
But spunk.
But a little tart, a little sweet.
Yeah. Spunky.
Spunky.
It will, absolutely leave their mark on you because it makes your tongue blue afterwards.
Correct.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
But we feel like a lot of the stuff that we do is important and there's pressure. And this show is our hour of therapy. This show is our hour of enjoyment. This show is an hour without the male species. Other than our great listeners, we hope that you enjoy this. But we're talking about the males that reside in the office out there, which it's a group.
It's a group. We're on a good streak right now. We've only had one male on this show before, and that was Trevor Bullard.
Oh yeah, T-Pup.
T-Pup. He gave us his analysis on the
H-Town.
Houston area when we were doing that back in the football season. Tepper's been on the show.
But he was not allowed to say a word.
Yeah, he didn't have his mic on. I was producing that day. Mm-hmm. I was producing that day. And he just sat by you.
Yeah.
But did not say a word.
That's the first time that's ever happened.
He doesn't ever not say words.
This is true.
So it was very impressive that he just sat there and didn't say a word.
This is
so
true.
I want to keep the streak going.
Oh yeah, correct.
No
so
males.
we've got our chill microphones. We've got our chill setup. We have our Dave Campbell's branded blankies. We feel as though...
I don't like that word.
That's what Carter called them. He said, "Oh, don't worry. You're not taking your laptop.
Did he
You
really?
have your blankie." And I was like, absolutely. Welcome to WTF. So on today's episode, we're not necessarily... We're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to dive into some heavy football stuff. But, of course, we're going to talk about some football-adjacent stuff, at least for the first part of the show. And then... It's the off season. We want to talk about our job and the really fun parts of it for a little bit. So we're going to start off with, and I hope that if you don't, we sent the 65th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, our annual summer magazine, to the printers the Friday before Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
So those are currently being printed as we speak.
Exciting.
Very excited for that. Mm-hmm. If you want to get your copy of the 65th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football before it hits newsstands, you can go to texasfootball.com/subscribe and we will mail it directly to you. So really
rocks.
cool. It does. And on top of that, you're not just getting the magazine out of that. The subscription includes all the online content throughout the year. It includes 2 different magazines that are shipped directly to you. And then it includes a bulk of what we all do in Dave Campbell's Texan Live, our streaming platform. Over 1,500 live sporting events all year round. Even if you're not into football, we do volleyball, we do softball,
water
basketball.
polo.
Water polo. Mallory oversees our water polo branch. She's very passionate about it. So just about anything that you can do, and it's all year long. So go ahead, texasfootball.com/subscribe. Get your hand on that, and let's get this football season started. So obviously it's weird. It's like, okay, it's the video people, and they're talking about our print product. We don't do near as much with the magazine from the print copy as we used to because we have taken on so much on the video roll.
Right.
But the one thing that we still do are the cover reveal videos.
Yes.
And arguably, I think that the content inside the magazine is more valuable, but I think that if you look at the covers and what stands the test of time, it's not necessarily the capsules, it's what's on the cover. So that's
Correct.
a decision that we make as an entire staff on who's going to be on the covers.
Yes, and I think if you go back and listen to Mike Craven and Carter Yates talking about their cover stories on TFT, especially Craven, I think it was pretty obvious this year who we wanted to be on the 2 covers. Sometimes there is a little bit more of a debate. Like last year, very easy. Sonny Dykes played in the national championship game, right, with TCU. Very easy. This year, I mean, it was kind of easy. Texas A&M, this huge rivalry that's coming back to life. People are so excited about that. And then, of course, when P&G won state championship this year, it was kind of one of those things like, it stood out to you.
Absolutely.
Right. That's what we're doing for the Texas high school football cover portion, the gatefold cover. So I think in years past, it's been more of a debate, but this year we pretty much all agreed what it was going to be right off the bat.
Right. And it's funny because if you ask me, I would say that usually the debate is more difficult for the gatefold cover than it is for the main cover, solely out
There's
of
more options.
the fact that we're usually have always done a college cover as the main cover. Well, there's 13 FBS schools, and that's not saying that we couldn't do it for a lower level one, but most of the time it's going to be one of the 13 FBS schools. The gatefold is interesting because primarily it's been a high school cover. It hasn't always been, but most of the time it is revolving around Texas high school football. There's over 1,500 teams. There's storylines all over
everywhere.
the state.
Yeah.
So it's always really interesting. It's one of the most fun things that we do here. But Mallory and I specifically are in charge of putting together the reveal video. So if you watch our cover reveal show on Texas Football Today, that's how we introduce the covers to the public. So we've heard a lot about Craven and Carter and their stories, and we've heard a lot about the covers, and we've heard a lot about, everything that goes into the writing portion of the magazine. We wanted to take some time and talk about our section of it, which is the videos.
Video side.
So we're going to start off with the one that you did, and this is the gatefold cover reveal video.
When I gave you a call that I said you and your son going to be on the cover, Dave Campbell's, what was your reaction?
I really don't want to do this. There's a lot more people, a lot more deserving than myself. He needs to be on there because there's a great deal they had this year winning the state championship. But, for us, it's always about the next one and things. And, I know there's a lot more people, a lot more deserving.
Surprise and a little bit of shock. I didn't really know how to react initially, but I grew up with that magazine, and being a coach's kid is something that you look forward to coming out every summer and reading through all the teams at every level and looking through this magazine. So to hear that y'all were interested in me being on the cover was a little bit surprising.
When you're watching Jeff coaching in a state championship game, what are your emotions like during that game?
Oh, you want them to be successful. You watch what they're doing, and you watch how they handle situations and things. And that was the great thing about him, because no situation was too big for him, and he was very poised.
He's been so much to me in my football career and my football life, from playing for him in high school to working for him as a coach to relying on him as a mentor. In my first couple years as a head coach, it means everything. He's been such a huge influence, not only on me but on so many coaches around the state for the past 4 years.
So there it is, the cover reveal video for the 65th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football gatefold cover, starring longtime super successful Katy head coach Gary Joseph and his son, now state champion reigning head coach from Port Neches Groves, Jeff Joseph. So this one, for my portion of it, I was the one that went down and shot all the footage of the cover video.
Yes.
So myself, Greg Tepper, our managing editor, and Carter Yates, our writer, college writer, I guess technically.
College Insider, I think, is his official title.
He's doing all sorts of writing stuff.
He's just a writer.
He's
Good writer, but a writer.
a writer. We went down and went to Katy, Texas, because we were like, okay, this seems like a good location to do it. Katy is one of our beloved Texan Live schools, so we were really excited to get down there and visit with everybody down in that part of the world. But we originally were going to shoot it at Legacy Stadium.
That's
so
right.
If you're unfamiliar, Rhodes Stadium was the original stadium for Katy ISD. There is a literal like driveway road, and then Legacy Stadium was built, their brand new one. They have so many schools now in the 9-school district that they play both fields.
Right.
So kind of two home fields. One of them is big old Mega Stadium. The other one is Good Faithful Road Stadium. And so we were going to shoot it at Legacy Stadium, and we get there and we're talking and we're talking to one of the assistant ADs, and he's like, I'll tell you what, man, as wild as it is with this brand new beautiful stadium, the Katy fan base for Katy High School loves Rhodes Stadium. That's like old High's stadium basically.
Right.
So they absolutely love that. So we ended up going over there, shooting that. Jeff was able to come up, I think it was around like Easter, so he was able to kind of see the family and stuff. He was very excited when he got there. But I would say the funniest part of it is we get there, and Jeff is a very charismatic guy. You know, he's
Yes.
great. He's one of those you could just kick your feet up and talk to for a lot of hours. Well, his dad, Gary, head coach at Katy, is like that around the like right people, mainly his family. Everybody else, he is old school ball coaching Jack that if you want to talk X's and O's, he will talk.
Right.
You want to make small talk? He's fine just sitting there in silence and enjoying your presence.
And you can tell that I try to portray that in the video itself. But I wanted to talk about the cover shoot just a little bit because I was curious. I wasn't at the cover shoot, so I was kind of interested to see. Did y'all know what kind of shot you wanted to get going into the cover shoot? Because I feel like we didn't really know and we'll talk about the main cover here in a second, but we didn't really know kind of what we were looking for in the main cover, you know? Did y'all know kind of what you wanted out of
I think we had
the gatefold?
I think we had a pretty good idea. I think that we really liked we're glad that it came to life because we really liked the idea of Gary standing up with his hand on Jeff and Jeff sitting down. Both of them standing up might have looked a little bit too
weird,
much like the Jeff Traylor and Joey McGuire one. We had kind of done a cover like that, but more so I think it was really symbolic of the fact that like Gary standing up being the established coach that he is and Jeff sitting down. One, father and son has something to do with that. But then two, I think that it shows that like Jeff now has a seat at the table. You know, he has made it for his own, but he still has so much further that he could go.
Right. It's kind of like passing the torch down.
Exactly.
Right. With the hand on the shoulder.
The hand on the shoulder was the key money shot to that one of saying, you know, I'm proud of you. Like we did it, you know, and now they're the only active father-son duo that has, I think that they're actually the first ever active father-son duo that has both won a state championship as a coach.
Yes, I think that's correct.
That's insane. They're both still coaching. They're going to both be back in their respective colors on the sideline in
this
the
next
greater
year.
Houston area next year. Right.
Now, do you think it's one of those things where we'll ever see them play each other? Because it's kind of a Todd Dodge, Riley Dodge situation where Todd Dodge was like, yeah, I want to get back into the coaching game, but I don't want to play Riley Dodge.
Right.
I don't want to play my son.
And so that's what's good for them. Obviously, Katy being 6A and then P&G being 5A. That will guarantee that they're not going to play each other unless they do it in non-district. And I think that would be one of the most highly attended, fun, exciting games for both of those communities. Those are both football crazy parts of Texas. That would be if they don't have it on the schedule, we're going to keep just shoving that cover in their face and say, give the people what they want, Josephs.
I think so too. Well, and the color schemes are so great together. Yeah. I mean, they just really pop on the cover with the red and the purple, right?
So
really,
there
nice.
was one point during the cover shoot where, Gary Joseph walks up, and you can tell he doesn't want to be in front of the camera. This is not his thing, but he's excited to do it for his son.
Yes.
There was one point where Jeff made some sort of a joke, and Gary let loose a little bit, and he had a football in his hand, so he kind of like gave him a little shake and bake almost, and it was like, oh, there it is. It's deep down in there, but it's there. But they're so fun to watch interact, and talk about two guys that just understand the game of football.
Well, and talking about the gatefold cover reveal video here for a second. Like you said, I was the one that edited that, and one of the hardest things to do was try and show that personality, right? Because Gary he's a great father, right? He wants the spotlight to be on Jeff, and I portrayed that, I feel like, in the video, especially in the first part when he was like, I think he deserves to be on the cover, but I don't want to do this. And it's funny, when I was editing that, I actually cut that first part out where Gary said, oh, I really don't want to do this, because Tepper asked him in those interviews that I used, those sound bites, Tepper did all of those interviews at the gatefold cover shoot. So that's all our footage. So I had cut that first part out because I was like, I don't know, I don't want this to be negative or anything. Like, I don't want him to be portrayed in like a different light, But I showed it to Carter, and Carter was like, no, I think you should put it in, because it's important in the aspect of, I don't want to be on the cover because I think people are more deserving of it. Not because, I don't want to do this. Yeah, I don't want to take the time to do it. That was not, nobody ever even thought that. He didn't want to be on the cover because he thinks there are a lot more people, just like his son, that are more deserving of that. Which is so on brand. But also, yeah, like, you needed, it was about time. It was about time. And this was the perfect way for us to put him on the cover, because I think that, and Tepper would agree to this, it's been a long time coming. Yeah. For Gary Joseph to be on the cover. So what better way to do it than to put his son on there with him as well?
If we never got Gary Joseph on the cover, that would have been a miss.
Yes.
If he retired before we were able to put him on the cover, that would have been a miss. So we were so glad that this worked out, because we knew he wouldn't do it unless his son was a part of it, and it all ended up working. Right.
And when we go to these cover shoots, we bring a camera. Now we're using our phones because they shoot really good footage. And we get a bunch of different shots for typically our reveal videos, right? So you got a ton of great shots, and I went through all of them. They were really, really good, but I didn't use any of the videos that you got at the cover shoot, because I thought it would be more meaningful if we used just pictures.
Yeah, and shout out to Mrs. Joseph, I believe, Coach Gary's wife.
Yes.
That she sent us all of those incredible photos of them.
Thank you, Carter, for helping me get those. But I was like, I think that this would portray not only the cover, but especially the cover story, gatefold cover story,
which is so great, and we cannot wait for y'all to read it when it comes out.
It's phenomenal. Carter Yates is the one who wrote it, and I worked with him obviously a lot on the reveal video, because I was like, I want this to portray your story. And I thought that the photos, and then the one video I put in there of the state championship game, I don't remember who got it. Was definitely our video. I think it might have been Gavin who captured that moment at the state championship game after PNG had just won it. But I thought that those pictures portrayed the cover story a lot more than just the footage of the actual shoot ever could have.
Absolutely. And you did a great job with it. And I also think that it goes without saying, and this is a big part of Carter's story that I won't give too much info about, but obviously, as most people know, this is third generation.
Yes.
Gary's dad, Jeff's grandfather, Eddie Joseph, was the longtime super successful head coach that then was the head of the THSCA forever. Actually, when you go to the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, the coaches awards that they hand out to get into the Hall of Fame are the Eddie Joseph's Coaches Awards. So a football coaching family, the first family of football. We really appreciate the Josephs for taking the time to do that for us. But great job on the video.
Thanks.
Again, texasfootball.com/subscribe. You're going to want to read Carter Yates' cover story, but it's a good one. It's a really good one. So that's obviously the gatefold cover. Like we said, most of the time, those are the high school covers. Now let's transition into the main cover of the 2024 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. about whiplash?
First of all, I love that reveal video.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I saw it when you sent it in the Slack, and I got chills. I mean, I got so hyped
Thank you.
for the football season.
It,
But yes, complete whiplash.
and that is what made this year's cover reveal video so fun for us to put together.
Yes.
Because in times past, I'm not saying that the stories were the same or that there had any sort of tie-ins between what we did and who was on the cover.
Right.
But if you have a coach and a coach, you know, or a coach or players and players, sometimes it makes it difficult to really differentiate the two videos. It's
right.
We always have found a way to do it, and there's always stuff that's going to be different that makes it not that difficult. But I absolutely love the duo of this cover combos because with the rivalry reborn, Texas versus Texas A&M, going to the big house at the SEC, everything that this embodies, not only from a football playing perspective, but from a state of Texas perspective, of a heated rivalry, one of the best across the nation, finally coming back after so many years,
Yes.
of 13 years of desperately wanting it to come back, or 12 years, to have that and then to turn around and watch like a sweet family, you know, sentimental. It was rivalry and hatred and aggression, and then it was, man, the love and the wealth of love that they have in a family. It's just, I just love the fact that we were able to take such different routes on this magazine.
Yeah, and we had talked about that a couple days before we both started editing our cover reveal videos, and we're just both sitting there like, man, I don't know. And we always go through this creative process, right? We're just like, how are we going to portray the cover boy stories in these reveal videos? Because that's the whole point of it. And we were just sitting there, and it's like, man, it's tough to think about how do we want to use footage, photos. We never know until you just kind of start diving into it, right? So we didn't really talk much about where our heads were at before we started editing these videos. We both just sat down and just started doing it. I kind of knew the way that you were going to go because you wanted to portray the fight poster that we tried to portray on the cover. So I knew that was the direction that you wanted to take yours in. I had no idea. I was like, there's so much you can do with something like that, you know? I don't know how long I want to make it, whatever. So you had sent yours in the Slack. Again, watched it. I was like, that's awesome. I love that. And then I said mine, and everyone was like, whoa, completely different vibes.
You know the TikTok trend where it's like, you know, something like kind of chaotic is going on and stuff, and then it shows the little kid walking in like the little
that's exactly what it was.
Sweatshirt that's all the way up. That's exactly what it felt like in the Slack when we sent those two videos back to back. It was like, wow.
Right. Well, and it's funny. I think you had left already at this point, but it was me, Powers, Carter, and V&A in the office still when I was finishing up editing and stuff. And I looked back at them and I was like, I need help trying to find a song because usually that's my favorite part about editing videos. I think you're probably the same way because
110%.
I think sound could make or break a video, right? So I find that very important. I need the song to relate to the video to enhance it. And usually I like the bang, bang, rock and roll, like you know,
that does not
guitar
work.
solo, like that doesn't work on this video. So I turned to him and I was like, V, what song do I choose? Because
Help.
I don't know. We went with the low-laying country
and it was
guitar
perfect for it.
string,
It was
but
a lot of options, though.
there
Yeah,
were
a lot of
quite a few options. Yeah. But yeah, completely different.
yes. So this one was the way that yours was less mirrored on the actual cover shoot and more mirrored after the story. Mine is similar in that way. Obviously, a rivalry is a lot easier to portray in that fashion. But I really tried to lean into the idea that Greg Tepper and Ishmael Johnson had for the cover. It was how in a print magazine do you portray a rivalry that means so much, and especially when you're using two quarterbacks that, to be honest, it's not about Quinn Ewers and Connor Wegman.
No.
Are they going to be the two leaders of these teams? Absolutely.
Yes.
Do they have chances to go be super, or future NFL stars?
Successful?
Absolutely.
Yes.
But if you'll notice, for the first time in, goodness, I don't even know how long, if ever, we did not put Quinn Ewers' name or Connor Wegman's name on the cover. We specifically left it blank. Now, are they both very recognizable, and will they be for a long time? The likelihood is yes. But that's not the reason that we did it. They left it off so that way it showed that this rivalry just needed 2 representatives of the University of Texas and Texas A&M University.
Right.
It didn't need to be the 2 coaches. It didn't need to be the 2 quarterbacks. It didn't need to be any of that. We needed some representation of the schools, and those 2 are probably the ones with the most recognizable faces from both of their
it could have been
programs.
Steve Sarkisian and Mike Elko.
Absolutely.
But like you said, this is about the rivalry itself.
Exactly. And so that's why they had the idea for an old school looking fight poster. They're looking at each other. They're ready to square off. So I felt like with the video, my goal was to really encapsulate that. That's why I started off with the ringing of the bell, like if you were in the ring, and then I ended it with that as well to kind of signify, like, all right, we've done it. Now here it's time to go. But I also was very intentional on putting those SEC logos as the very first thing in the video, because I feel like obviously that's the whole reason that we're getting this rivalry back. And that's also, as of right now, in this crazy time of college realignment and everything, that is the predominant conference, likely will be for a while. We never know at this point, but it's seeming like that's the power, that's the Premier League, that's the Super League. And for those 2 to reunite on not even arguably the largest stage in college football in the same conference where it matters, in that Thanksgiving week, like that, it is everything. It gives me goosebumps. I grew up watching that. I will never forget in 2011 sitting there on my couch on Thanksgiving watching Justin Tucker's kick go through on Kyle Field. Like, I get goosebumps every time. My family grew up wherever the Texas game, wherever that game was being played. If it was in Austin, we would go to my family in Austin for Thanksgiving. If the game was in College Station, we would stay up and go to my mom's side of the family that is not in Austin. Yeah. So it's like we based our family Thanksgiving off of where that game was being played. There's so many people like that, not even in the state of Texas, but across the U.S. that are like that. And so with the video, I tried to encapsulate that. It's a friendly rivalry, but it's the rivalry that we've been craving so much, and it's going to be a dogfight that we're all excited for. So I think the cover turned out great. Really excited with how the video turned out, and I hope that it kind of acted as a pathway for people to continue that excitement that it's building up to November 30th.
Right. And I think it means so much more to that. Not only are these quarterbacks, the leaders of 2 of the biggest programs in the state of Texas, they were also the leaders of 2 really big Texas high school football programs in the state of Texas, which I think is, it just encapsulates our brand so much more, right? Because you add the high school and college aspect pretty much all in one cover.
Oh, yeah. High school 6A. I mean, between South Lake Carroll, one of the predominant powerhouses in 6A, and then Cypress Bridgeland, a newer program that instantly started having success and is continuing going with that. Connor Wigman is the reason that Maximum Bears was created.
Maximum Bears!
Like, that in and of itself, well, Connor and probably Tommy Yarish a little bit, our good friend. But that's why Maximum Bears was started. And so it's so recent, but I love that. And it's really cool too. We talk a lot about straight line recruiting. We talk a lot about, closing the borders of Texas when it comes to recruiting. To see this rivalry in its first year of existence come from 2 people that are from Texas high school football and also grew up wanting to play for these teams. There's pictures of Quinn Ewers with his hook 'em up.
Right. It just took him a little while to get there. He had to, make his way out of the state and go play for Ohio State for a little bit. But then he found his way back here.
He got a bag and he came back with a bag. So that's the world we're living in now. But Connor, too, just fits in great with the A&M culture. And the cover shoot was really, really fun. We did have them both in the same room. You and I were both there. We met at the THSCA headquarters in San Marcos. That's about the closest that we could get to a halfway
neutral
meeting
point that wasn't just in a field.
A field, exactly. So, and our friends at the THSCA, Joe and Glenn, so graciously welcoming us in to their facilities and stuff. But watching them interact, they dapped each other up. They were talking. They told us that the last time they seen each other was at an Elite 11 camp. Yeah. So it's not like they didn't know who they were. They were dapping each other up.
They're good friends. They respect each other, and I think it was a really cool opportunity for them to stand side by side, knowing that they're going to be on the cover together of a magazine that they both admitted they grew up reading. And they looked forward to that every summer. So that was really, really cool. Now, before we move on to the cover shoot, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the video too, because I know we had talked about it a little bit before, but was it difficult not being able to use any footage of past games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's when I first went into it. My first thought was, okay, we're gonna make this all about the rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna go back and look for all that footage, and we're gonna do this. And
because as a video person, I was like, that's where my mind would go.
Right.
Trying to use that footage, but you can't. You know.
Right. And I at that point. This goes back to the trying to accentuate the fight poster idea. I realized that if I'm using a bunch of footage of plays and big moments, that's gonna feel like, to me, that feels a little bit more sentimental. It gets you kind of in that old school mindset and all that stuff. And I was like, no, I want to represent that, yes, the rivalry happened, but that this is the new era of the rivalry.
Right.
If we were looking back, and, you know, I think Craven's story does such a good job of going as far back as you can imagine into this and the universities the culture and rural versus urban and all of those things all coming together. I was like, okay, we have this beautiful, incredible story by Craven that lays all of that out. Let's get people excited for the new era.
Yeah.
This is Texas versus Texas A&M. Let's ride that train.
Right.
So that's where that came from.
Right. And then kind of going off of that a little bit, during the cover shoot, it was fun to watch them. So we took individual photos of them. As you'll be there, a couple of those are going to be actually in the magazine. And then we took photos of them together. And it was really hard to get them to be like, ugh, you know, like fight. like Aaron, our amazing photographer who took the cover photos, he was like, you know, look like you're fighting each other. You know, don't look like brothers in this. But they couldn't do that because it's like, no, but we are bros. Yeah. You know, so it was funny to be at the cover shoot and seeing the brotherly dynamic between these two, even though they're playing for rival schools.
Right.
And then having to turn that around and then do a fight poster reveal video.
Right, which is so funny because I also think that shows the leadership that the two of them have, because I guarantee you they're not going to act like bros when November 30th rolls around.
No.
That whole week beforehand, that whole season, it is you get on the football field and it is competition. It's
Nothing else matters at that point.
No, you're not dapping each other up, you know, like they will be on separate sides of the field and both of them are going to try and bring home. I mean, that's the biggest game of your life almost, just from going
absolutely.
Like, the whole fan base has been pent up on this for so long, and now someone's got to go out here and win the state of Texas. So it was really cool to see them together. Cannot wait to watch the two of them compete. We're hoping for healthy seasons for both of them. But
just
it is
itching for this game. I'm itching for it.
Damn
it's going to be awesome
to have this rivalry back in the state of Texas. It's good for the state of Texas to have this rivalry back.
Now I grew up a Michigan State fan, but I also did watch Texas football, Texas A&M football, because I'm from the state of Texas, so I liked to at least keep up with it growing up. But that would be like taking the Michigan State rivalry away.
and just poof, it's
I would
gone.
be so sad.
Oh yeah,
it
was hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. But I'm glad it's back.
Yeah.
It's gonna rock.
It was a little bit less because Texas has OU, so that helped. But it's just not.
Right.
It's just not the same.
No, not at all. So glad it's back.
Yeah, there we go. The main cover reveal for the 65th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Again, texasfootball.com/subscribe. If you go and subscribe before the month of June ends, we can guarantee that you will get your magazine shipped directly to you before it hits newsstands. If you do not, then you got to go search for it. And you don't get Texan Live, and you don't get Steps previews, and you don't get so much stuff at these insanely low price of $49 a year.
You're a good saleswoman.
Thank you.
I guess I should say.
A year. That's a steal.
That is a steal.
Absolute steal. So go ahead, go get your edition, your 65th edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
You know what else is coming up too in a couple weeks?
Father's Day. Perfect gift for dad. Dude, as two girls that grew up with football crazed dads.
Oh yeah. You can't get him anything else that's better than that.
I regret that I did not get my father one prior to later in life. Like, I should have, my 6-year-old brain should have been like, Mom, I need some monies.
I know. I got to get this magazine.
So 6-year-olds, go buy your father with your mom's money a subscription to Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
texasfootball.com/subscribe.
Correct. All right, we're gonna roll some commercials real fast from our great sponsors, and then we've got one little topic to talk about when we come back.
I feel like bustin' loose, bustin' loose. Come on, get on up. Oh yeah, get on up. Bustin' loose when you wanna sing. Bustin' loose, baby, do your thing. Talking about bustin' loose, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Wing is the largest residential drone delivery provider in the world, delivering to your home in less than 30 minutes. Order using an app just like other popular delivery services, and Wing's automated drone takes care of the rest. It's fast, safe, and sustainable, and it's now delivering to parts of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. You can learn more at wing.com/TexasFootball. Again, that's wing.com/TexasFootball.
Back to WTF, Women Talking Football. Currently here every Thursday at 2. An announcement coming in the next couple of weeks about that, so stay tuned. But for now, Thursdays at 2. Keep coming and checking us out here. Okay, before we let you go, and we'll go pretty quick on this, but this is solely for my own enjoyment, and we're gonna definitely bring in our producer Vianney for this because I mean it's our show. Who else?
Everything is for your everything's for our enjoyment. What do you mean?
I am very passionate about hearing people, creatives. That's kind of an all-encompassing term of people that do stuff like we do. Talk like passionately about their creative process. How do you get from point A to point B? You know, like this inception, and you can do that for a writer. You can do that. You know, how do you start your story versus how do you end it? What was the inspiration there? The interview process. What all goes into it? You can do it for video editors. You know, you have the idea. You've got to put it together. You have to edit it. You have to do all this stuff. So all three of us, and I don't know how many people genuinely know that because they see us do this kind of stuff and they see us do other things. But I mean, we primarily edit almost every piece of video content that you see coming on Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
Yeah, you know all of those 60-plus coaching school interviews that Tep and Step do every single year?
That's us.
That's us.
You know the Picks video every
That's
single
us.
week? That's her.
Yep.
V&A handled so much of our Texas Football Tonight editing stuff. So I'll start it off here. My process, I feel like when it comes to editing videos is a little bit different. So when we go and obviously we have the idea, okay, great. You go to the shoot. Depending on the type of shoot, I've gotten pretty good about figuring out stuff, but I'm a person that loves getting more B-roll. So that's kind of footage that you'll see over interviews of stuff happening, whatever. I love B-roll, as much B-roll as I can possibly get. Those color shots, like I love that. But primarily, I feel like I'm a little bit different than normal editors. I would say that a normal editing track tends to go, hey, we're going to take a look at the footage, put together the footage, then you go in and you color correct it, then you go in and you would address the audio, then you go in the audio of like interviews or sound bites or anything, and then you go in and you add the music. That's literally the last thing that you do. I have always been so backwards, and I feel like you kind of precursored this a little bit earlier. I am such a music person.
Yes.
In life, in general, I mean, music, if anybody asks, like, what's your hobby? I almost want to say music, and that sounds weird, but it's true. Whether that's trying new music, listening. I would rather sit down and listen to music than I would watch TV. Love,
I'm the same way.
Huge music person. So not always, but I would say 99% of the time, I know the footage that I got. I was the one that shot it most of the time, or I've kind of looked through it, and it's like, okay, I'll usually identify like one or two key shots that I got, and it's like, okay, these are going to be the highlights of it, so I know that. I'll fill in the rest later. But I find my music, because I think, I agree, I think the music of a video in my brain can make or break it.
Yes.
So I feel like maybe we're all on the same track, but maybe we're all weird. But music is almost the most important thing for me.
I would agree with that. For me, it is very important. I'm different in the sense that my weakness, I feel like, is audio. So I love to get all of the video stuff together first. This cover reveal was a little bit different because I didn't use much video. I just used pictures. But I like to get as much B-roll. Like going to cover shoots, I love to get as much B-roll because we were taught at UNT to get as much B-roll as possible because, like we were talking about earlier, you're not going to be back in that spot. This is not like filming a TV show or filming a movie where you can redo these shots over and over and over and over again. You have to make sure that you have all your shots that one day before you get out of there and go start editing, right? So get as much B-roll footage as possible. And then I sit down and then I kind of put it all together. Have the idea in my mind and kind of start thinking about how I want to portray the video. And then I go and add audio. Because I'm just so bad, especially like editing audio and stuff. But then it also helps me decide what I want for audio too. Sense. Because in the same respect as you, I find it very important. I'm a big music person just like you. But I think putting together the footage first also helps me determine what I want to use for audio.
Makes sense. What about you, V?
I mean, I think like everyone is different in like just the whole process of like making a video. I mean, some people can be super organized. Some people can have a shot sheet. Some people don't need a shot sheet. Some people just like go out and shoot. I think I'm a little less organized, but I think the thing that I love the most is like figuring out what the person's gonna hear, because like that sets the whole tone. It's like it tells you how you're supposed to feel about this video. Like when you were picking out the music for the gatefold cover, like you're like, oh, this one sounds a little, this one sounds here, this one sounds there. And like we needed family and like little
love.
Inspirational love, you know, connection there. And like obviously pickle, it's like more like pounding. This is how we're supposed to feel about this.
Right.
And I think music is so important in that. I mean, I love music too. Like I love it so much.
Yeah, you're a big music person too.
I mean, my dad's a DJ, so
yeah, exactly.
Which rocks.
That is awesome.
So I just like, I don't like. He's taught me to like. We need to like even for like in live events, at group events, like, oh, this is how we're supposed to feel about this. Like this is obviously, you know, at a funeral you're gonna play like sad.
Right.
We're not gonna, you know, there's tone. It adds so much tone, feeling, and like it tells you what, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be hearing.
Feeling about it. That's such a good way to put it, because I feel like I feel the exact same way, but that is such a good way to put it. And I think that that's why I try to focus on the music, because I'm like, okay, how do I want to feel? And then I can match the images to that. And I will say, I think that that's backwards a little bit for me too, because I don't ever go into a shoot without a very strong idea of all of the different shots that I'm looking for. And sometimes every time, if you're only sticking to the shots that you go in looking for, you're not going to get what you actually need.
Yes.
So the best thing that you can do is keep your mind completely open. But I do think you should always go into the into a shoot going, these are the shots we absolutely have to have. Let's find gold after this.
Yes.
But I think I know by the time that I just get back exactly what shots that I have, that then I can go straight to the music and then be like, oh, okay, here's where the ebbs and flows feel.
Right. Well, and that's what makes those cover. I know that V, you weren't able to go on the shoots this year, but what makes the cover shoots so much fun is that, we go in there with a good idea of what we want. And then we put on some good music when we get in there. And then the cover subjects start feeling themselves a little bit. And then we get pumped because we're like, oh, this footage is going to be good. Like we get good stuff from that too. So they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. So really, really strong way to put that, V, about like it dictates how you want the viewer to feel. That's, I've never heard it put that way, and I completely agree. So anyway, that was solely just for our enjoyment there. I just love hearing about people and how they do that stuff, because I feel like there's so many, even being a creative, looking at other people doing videos, and my dad always gets so much enjoyment out of listening to me talk. He's like, what was like the mindset here, you know? And it's just cool to talk about. So thank y'all for all humoring us.
Correct. Maybe we should add music to the Pix video now that we're all big music people. I think we should add some rock and roll music to the Pix video. video.
If nothing else, it would drown out Tepper. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in to WTF Women Talking Football. I believe we will be back next week. Keep a lookout at our Twitters, at DCTF, at Mallory Hartley, at Ashley_pickle12. And we might be switching things up a little bit. So keep an eye on for program scheduling. But before that, we're going to go in the day, I guess.
Yeah.
We got other stuff to do.
We're tired.
Yeah. Listen to the podcast.
On Apple Music.
Bye.